Hello friends, and welcome back to the Mothership. Today we are making our very own venison hot dogs from start to finish. Let's get started. Alright, so the very first thing we want to do, guys, is I took all of my venison, I cut into strips that'll fit into my grinder, and then I put it onto a tray into my freezer. The idea being I want to take it right to the point where it's frozen. That way it's going to go through the grinder much easier. Everything's going to work out a lot better. But we also want to make sure we get fat in there because venison is so lean. So the ratio that I like to do is about 20% fat to 80% meat. In my case, I had 2,509 grams of venison. So I added in brisket fat until I got to the point where the math worked out. And in my case, the total is about 3164. It's a little more fat, but basically 3164 grams is what I'm working. Now, I have said this before, guys. When you're doing stuff like sausage, you really got to go in grams. Honestly, everything's by percentage, so it's a lot easier. I know, I like freedom units too, but grams are a lot easier to work with. You're also going to want to get yourself a nice gram calculator, something nice and compact like this works. You just want to be able to get something that can do very small amounts. Now, the ratio that I'm going to use will be down below. What you want to do is measure everything out based on your total amount of meat. So 3164 is what I have. 3164, we want to do 1.75% of that weight in salt. So let's measure that out. And that comes out to about 55 grams of salt. Since we were going by weight, you can honestly use any salt that you want. I just have a lot of kosher salt, so I'm going with that, but table salt works fine. Perfect. The next thing I'm doing is pink curing salt, number 1. We don't need number 2, just need number 1. And the ratio I like to use is about 0.25% of weight. So that's 0.25% of our total weight, which comes out to about 8 grams. If it looks like, oh, it's a tiny amount, that's because it is. A little bit of this goes a long way, guys. You really don't want to overkill with pink salt. It can get kind of dangerous. There we go. Now, if you're wondering, this is about 7 pounds worth of meat. That's what I'm totally doing. Usually, the rule of thumb is about a teaspoon of pink curing salt per 5 pounds of meat. So somewhere around maybe 1.5 teaspoons, something like that. All right, now those were the important ones that we don't want to mess up. Everything else is just seasonings. So for garlic, I do 0.2%. And that's going to come out to about 6 or 7 grams. Going to do the same, about 6 or 7 grams of paprika. Next, I'm going to do the same 0.2% in white pepper. Then I'm going a little bit smaller with some onion powder. I'm going to do 0.15%, which is about 5 grams. Then lastly, I'm doing another 0.15%, this time with ground mustard. And there we go. Here's our dry seasonings. Once we're done grinding, we're going to mix this all throughout our meat mixture before we go and actually start to emulsify it. So right now, just put it aside. And this is a good time to take all the metal bits from your grinder and toss them in your freezer. Everything works better when it's cold. Our venison has had plenty of time to get nice and cold in the freezer. I don't want it completely frozen, I just want it right at that point where it's about to start freezing. Usually when I'm doing a grind for sausage, I run it through like twice on my smaller plate. On this one I'm just gonna do once. We just want to get it down to like a, a manageable level of grind because it is gonna go into our food processor afterwards to emulsify it. But for now, all we want to do is throw it through the grinder. I like to intersperse our big sections of fat with a whole bunch of our meat. Just because venison is so lean, you really do want to make sure you get fat kind of mixed throughout there, although we are going to completely mix it when we throw our dry mix in there and just make sure everything gets together. But for right now, let's give it a good grind. There we go. Really quick. This machine does great work here. If you're looking for a grinder, I have the meat ones. They're fantastic. To get the last bit in there, I just tossed an ice cube in there and that pushed out the rest of the meat. But all we want to do now is we want to give it a good mix. So we're going to take our dry seasoning, pour it all over. This is the point where I add a little bit of water just to make it a little bit easier to mix. We don't want to go crazy because we are adding ice when we actually do our emulsification, but a little bit of water will just help everything mix together. And now you just want to get everything completely mixed. Now that is exceptionally cold, but that is done. So at this point, the next step will be the emulsification process, which means we need to use our food processor. I'm going to put this into our fridge. I'm going to clean up this whole thing, get our food processor together, and then we'll go ahead with actually doing the emulsification. But the trick of emulsification, guys, is you want it to be really cold. You want the fat and the meat to actually congeal. You don't want them to separate. So we want everything to be nice and cold. We'll also add in ice cubes when we do this. But for now, take this, toss it in your fridge, get some cleanup going, then get your food processor, and we'll come back and we'll make these hot dogs. All right, time to emulsify. We're gonna take our meat, toss it into our food processor. I like to use about 20% of the weight in ice. Add that in there, that keeps everything nice and cool and adds much needed moisture, which will definitely make it easier to push it through our sausage caser. But basically, get some of your meat, toss her in, toss a whole bunch of ice in there. Try not to drop it on the floor, but my dog will get it. Brisket, come here, bud. Yes, my dog's name is Brisket if you are new to the channel. Go get it, buddy. All right, then we are going to get the top on. And we are just gonna run it until it turns into a kind of gross looking paste. Now every once in a while, you do kind of need to push it down. Just take a spatula, jam it back down there so it's actually making contact with the blades. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it into this container. Then we're gonna go through the rest of this meat slowly. And then once it's done, we're gonna mix it back together. And then we'll come back and it's time to actually case these suckers. And we are done. Everything is nice and pasty. So what we wanna do is get our sausage stuffer. Now mine is only 5-pound sausage stuffer and we have more meat than that. So I'm going to fill this completely as much as I can and toss in the fridge because just like everything else with sausage making, the colder the better. So fill this sucker up completely, toss in the fridge. Then we'll come back and actually throw our casings on. Now our meat has had some time in the fridge and it's time to case it. So we're gonna get it onto our casing shenanigans. Gonna put our horn on here. And then for casings for hot dogs, guys, I use collagen. These are 19mm ones from Cabela's. I will link them online if I can find them. But they're pretty easy to find and they last forever. You don't need to wet them or anything, just throw them back in your fridge if you don't use all of them. Just gonna get them onto the horn like so. Give it a little snip. And we're just gonna start filling them. And just like always, guys, yes, I know exactly what this looks like. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of twine and I'm going to tie off the end here. And then these are hot dogs, guys, so pick your length. I think about like that probably is a good frank size. Give it a nice spin. And then just keep casing. Now the annoying part about these collagen casings is I can't get a ton on here. So you're really doing them in like sets of 3 or 4. But it's kind of the nature of the game. Now this last one on the end here, I'm just going to put back into the hopper because it's too small for a hot dog, but tie it off and then you're basically doing links of 3. It's a time-consuming process, guys, but this is how we do it. We're just gonna go through all of this. Tie off the last one here. All right, that is done. Put those aside, put them in your fridge. We'll come back to them when we actually want to cook them off. Now as I case this one, guys, I realized I didn't really talk about fat. So obviously if you're a hunter, you know that venison is an extremely lean meat. So you can't just make hot dogs out of venison. You do need an external fat source. In this video, obviously I used brisket fat. You could use beef fat, you could use pork belly, that would work too. You just gotta make sure that you get that ratio of close to 80-20. You could do 70-30, but you definitely need fat. If it's too lean, then you're not gonna get that emulsification, and it's gonna turn out pretty gross. So make sure you add fat to your venison. If your processing is doing your grinding for you, just ask them to throw some beef fat in there, or pork fat, bacon, something like that, that'll work. This section is done. So another way to do this, rather than link them out, is see how long you have, see how many hot dogs you can make out of that section, roll them up, put them aside, and keep going. That's what I'm going to keep doing for the rest of these. And we'll come back once I've gone through this entire amount here, and we'll go ahead with cooking them. Oh boy, now that was a ton of cleaning, guys. That's the worst part about making sausage, hot dogs, anything. You're cleaning so much stuff. Now, what I did is I cased them, I put them in the fridge and let them rest for about an hour. That just lets everything do its thing, come back together, congeal, continue to cure, all that stuff. Then I put them onto the smoker at 180 degrees, and I'm gonna run them just like this for, honestly, as long as it takes. I'm looking for about 145 to 150, probably about 145, because every time you cook these, you're gonna cook them again, all the way up to, you know, eating temperature. So about 145 is what I'm looking for here. let it do its thing. The goal is to have them not touch, but obviously there's a lot of them, not that much real estate. But just let it do its thing, guys. Once they're on the other side, they're gonna look beautiful and they're gonna be delicious. And I'll show you what to do as soon as they're done. But smoker, 180 degrees, till they reach an internal of about 145 to 155. These hot dogs hit about 145 degrees a couple seconds ago. So what I did is I took them off and I plunged them right into an ice bath. What that does is stops the cooking and it makes all the meat kind of just shrink away from that casing, which will make it easier to pull them off if you want to. I usually don't do that, but it definitely stops the cooking, which is important here. So once they hit that internal temperature, guys, pull them off, throw them into an ice bath, let them sit for like 15 minutes. That just basically stops everything. And then you've got hot dogs. So at this point, you can definitely freeze them, vacuum seal them, or you can also just eat them. So what we're gonna do tonight, just because I want to see how these did, we're gonna take them out, let them cool off, then we're gonna cook them like a regular hot dog on the grill. But let these finish resting, guys. 15 minutes is definitely important here. It stops the cooking process. Let them keep resting. You can cut off all the strings and all that stuff. You've got regular hot dogs now. But we'll come back in a couple minutes, we'll grill them off, and we'll see how we did. Now, spoiler alert, guys, this is basically my exact same hot dog recipe, just substituting beef for venison. And if you watch the channel at all, you know I usually have a lot of venison around. I am a bit of a hunter. I do enjoy getting a lot of venison every year. And we're getting towards the beginning of next season. It's the middle of summer right now, but I gotta start thinking about next season. So all the steaks I have in my freezer, I want to cook them up, grind them, make them into something that I can feed to the guys for the rest of the summer, and a little bit of hunting camp next year. So here we are. We have some ground venison hot dogs. And it smells fantastic, guys. I know it's gonna be really, really good, but it's time to see how we did. So if you want to take a look, here's our hot dog. Looks good to me, a little bit of ketchup, potato bun. I did the cross cut on there just because it looks pretty and it gets a little bit more even cooking. But most importantly, let's see how they taste. That is a hot dog. You have a little bit of gamey taste in there, but it's not bad, I promise you. It tastes a little bit like venison. It's cured like a hot dog. It's got that brisket fat in there, so it's really nice and juicy. This is very, very good. To be honest, my wife and I like to cook a lot of venison, usually in the form of tacos every week. We're probably cooking 2 pounds at least of venison a week. And usually we're doing ground, so steaks are great for just throwing them on the grill. I have a couple of videos out there on cooking some back straps, but usually we end up doing ground because ground beef is just usually something you can cook in basically everything. You can substitute for ground venison very easily. These hot dogs are a great substitute for using ground beef. It's just taking the beef out, putting in venison, making a great hot dog. There's a lot of work to make hot dog, guys. Obviously, there's a lot of cleaning involved, a lot of different machines you got to do, but just basically the process is pretty simple. Grind it up, take it out, throw it into a food processor with a little bit of ice, emulsify it, put it into your casing stuffer, case it, and then you're done basically. You got to cook it. But after that, you have hot dogs. It's really not that difficult. So when I did my last hot dog video, guys, I used prime rib, which was a little bit overkill. And obviously they're incredible. And everyone I gave one to said you definitely need to do more of these, but it's a prime rib hot dog. Don't expect that too often. In general, hot dogs are cheap. You should just buy them. They're like $1, $1.50 each. But hot dogs are really good for all kinds of other cuts of meat. So venison, elk, any sort of game meat, you can make hot dogs super easily and they'll last forever. And I highly recommend this one if you're looking for something to do with the rest of your game meat. Really, these are so good. We're gonna enjoy this one tonight, and I'm really, really excited that I have an entire plate in my freezer and that I'm gonna vacuum seal tomorrow and have hot dogs for the rest of this year. Going into hunting camp, everyone's gonna love them. They're gonna be really, really good. But I would love to hear from you guys. What do you do with the rest of your game meat at the end of the season? Do you turn them into jerky, which is what I usually do? Do you do hot dogs? Do you just have a great cook-off? Make some chili? Love to know what you guys are doing. And if you guys do not cook anything with venison or any sort of game meat because you're not into that kind of food, love to hear what you guys are doing with your hot dogs. Do you guys do this recipe? Do you use something else? Love to hear from you. But most importantly, guys, get out there and cook something absolutely fantastic, and I will catch you on the next UFO barbecue. Bye-bye.